Hello, welcome to Business Law 1, Unit 5, the topic, negotiable instruments. I'm going to use this segment to introduce the chapter, and then when we're back in class, I'm going to go over it in more detail. All right, let's begin. First, I want to emphasize what is a negotiable instrument. What's the purpose behind negotiable instrument? Well, it's a replacement for cash, but it also has other values. For example, it provides a record, speeds up commerce. Could you imagine bringing in $1 million and counting the cash? So speeds up commerce. It's secure. In case it gets lost, it can be canceled and reissued. And it provides more flexibility. We're dealing with trillions of dollars in commerce, and so negotiable instruments are the means by which we can transfer all these funds and still have it secure and not bog us down. All right. The basic common law that roots negotiable instrument is the concept of assignments, which we've already covered. In order to be a negotiable instrument, this check or draft or promissory note, which is a negotiable instrument, must be able to be assigned or transferred. And so the reason it's different is that to make it transferable and to make it secure, it's got to meet these certain requirements to ensure that whoever receives this is going to be able to get their money when they want it. All right? There are different types of transfer instruments. There's order instruments, pay to the order of. If you look at your check book, pay to the order of, and it's specific people. Or they're bearer paper, which means it could be, the check could be signed already by the drawer, and whoever possesses that paper can then go ahead and get the funds from it without requiring a signature because it's already been pre-signed. All right, there are three types of negotiable instruments: a check, sometimes also known as a draft. Okay, it could be a time draft or a site draft, payable on presentation. Could be a promissory note. Now keep in mind, with a draft or a check, it takes three parties. The one who writes the check, the drawer, all right, the one who it's drawn from, the drawee, which would normally be the bank, and then the payee, which is who the check is being written to. Three parties. With promissory note, it's only two parties. Okay, it's the maker and the payee. I hereby promise to pay, Glenn hereby promises to pay Sue $1,000, and we can write that all out. And there's just two parties, no bank involved. The third type of negotiable instrument, is a certificate of deposit, which maybe you've heard of this. It's where it's you deposit money with the bank, and they promise to pay you back with interest. Just two parties. So know the distinction between those three types of instruments. You will have 4 questions in that area. The next topic we need to talk about are the 6 requirements of negotiability. All right, and you can read those on your own under item 4 there, 6 requirements of negotiability. And as I've already said, we need to meet these 6 requirements in order for the paper to be considered negotiable. Okay? So, learn those. We'll talk more about those in class next time we meet. All right, then the next page, item 5, are factors not affecting negotiability, such as whether you post-date it or predate it, whether you write things on the face of the check or not. You need to know that words trump figures. So read through that, make sure you understand that. So long as it does not compromise the negotiability, you can write things on the face of the instrument, little notes to yourself and so forth. You'll see a couple of questions regarding that slide. The next area that we need to talk about is what is called the holder in due course requirements. Now, let's pretend I have a check here. See my check, can you see that? Okay. Paid to the order of Paul, $1 billion, signed Glenn Rewerts. Okay. I'm the drawer, the bank is the drawee, and Paul is the payee in this example. When it goes to cash, the $1 billion check. Hey, there I am. All right. Well, I'm currently holding this check. All right. There's another status that I need you to be aware of, and that's the status of being called a holder in due course. A holder in due course gives you additional protections in order to be more secure in being able to cash the check. So I want you to understand there is a holder and there's a holder in due course. Okay? If your paper does not meet those 6 requirements, okay, it may not be negotiable paper. Okay, if it meets the 6 requirements, it's negotiable paper. However, in order to be a holder in due course, it takes 4 more requirements. All right, and I'm on item 6 of your outline. Okay, so number 1, to be a holder in due course, you must be a holder of a properly negotiated, negotiable instrument meeting the 6 requirements, which I've already said. You must acquire the instrument for value. In other words, in order for Paul to get this check from me, he needed to give me something in return for it. Okay? The concept of consideration. All right? So he needed to trade something of value to me. Maybe I was paying him $1 billion for him to build me a house. Something like that. All right. The holder also must have taken the paper in good faith, with no knowledge, no notice that anything was wrong with the instrument. Like there wasn't something written across the face of the instrument that said not honored, okay, or do not pay, or anything like that. And that I took it, or excuse me, that the person took this paper in good faith, with no knowledge of any breach or any wrongdoing that would reasonably cause somebody not to honor the paper. All right? The next slide I would like to review with you, and there's only 3 more slides left, is the rights of a holder in due course. This is where it gets very important. This is why I'm going to spend more time the next time we meet giving you an example of this. But right now I just want to go over some basic concepts. The rights of a holder in due course. Basically, if you are a holder in due course, okay, there could be defenses as to why I would not want to pay this, okay? So Paul presents this $1 billion check to be paid, but let's say I raise a defense, an objection as to why I do not want to pay it, okay? Well, there are 2 types of objections. There are real objections or defenses, and then there are personal defenses, okay? And the big deal here is that somebody who is considered a holder in due course takes the instrument, okay, but they're not subject to the personal defenses of the holder. Excuse me. They're not subject to the personal defenses of the drawer who may not want to pay this. All right? They are subject, however, to the real defenses. Now, I can only guess that this is confusing, so in class we're going to go over this in more detail. But you're going to see 3 questions just with regards to the rights of the holder in due course. The next slide I'd like to review or pre-review with you are the personal defenses and real defenses. I would like to draw your attention to item 8 on the PowerPoint slide, and I would like you to see that there are personal defenses and real defenses. And in class, we'll go over the distinction between those two. Finally, the last item that I want to go over is called the shelter principle. This is also known as the holder through the holder in defense doctrine. Let me just read to you what your PowerPoint says. The shelter principle. A person who does not qualify as a holder in due course can nonetheless acquire the rights of a holder, the rights and privileges of a holder in due course if they derive their title to the instrument through a holder in due course. Okay? So in effect, it's kind of like if you've ever heard the term washing the instruments. If you cash these checks to a holder in due course and somehow reacquire them, if you reacquire them through a holder in due course, you get the rights of a holder in due course, which means you're no longer subject to personal defenses, you're only subject to the real defenses. All right, you want to be sure to read up on those concepts and be ready for class as we go over these again in more detail. Look forward to it. Thank you.